Hmm. I'm going to do a lesson, if that's okay. Set up a class today. Well, colors I've never seen before. You want to talk about poetry next? About a guy who lived in the 1800s. He's a white guy, he's a French guy. He's a really good guy, and then he turned into a bad guy because of money, I think. But who knows? Who knows what his motivation was at the time? Like many white people of that time. Everyone thought, yeah, slavery was a good thing at the time. Yeah, everyone thought slavery was a good thing at the time. Slavery is not a good thing. I like technology and robots better. I don't mind a social credit system, to tell you the truth. I mean, sure, it's a safer society. You don't have to do bad things for money. All you have to do is make sure, you don't speed, so you don't lose the little ditches here and there. And you can catch those little numbers in for nice cars, like Teslas, and good groceries. You don't have to have to work hard for eggs. All you have to do is live a good, safe life. Not everybody believes in that. I heard the Chinese do it. Because, they have a bunch of machines that do everything for them. And they go home and they make little trinkets and try to sell whatever to Americans. Robots can work 24 hours a day, 7 days a week without a break and not have any medical problems. Sure, there might need to be some maintenance, some computer work here and there. Well, ultimately, everybody gets their digits for being a good person. For being a good person. They all get their digits. For being good. That's all they have to worry about. You ever see those Chinese EV luxury vehicles? I don't think you have to drive them. You don't have to steer them. You just lay back like in a little pod and it goes with a big screen TV and you lay back like in your living room and it drives you to your next place. Don't know if it's a reality yet. I bet they have a bunch of machines making it for like, I don't know, 500 RMB, which is what, like 500 American dollars, I don't know. I could be wrong. I'm not a currency exchange. Heard they're really nice. Really, really nice. You don't have to use oil. Did you know that? Don't have to use fuel. $500 for a luxury machine-built industrial hardcore car. So you don't have to steer it, and all you have to do is watch a big screen TV as it takes you to the next spot. Pretty cool. We paid for that. America paid for that. We told the Chinese, hey, we want you to learn how to build this shit. And what did they do? They figured it out. We gave them all our money and all our factories and said, learn how to build this shit. And then we said, we hate you. It's like, hey, we just gave you a bunch of money, China. Why don't you just teach us how you did it so we can do it too. Our way, the American way. I don't think the Chinese would be too pissed about that. I mean, they might be like, well, that's a pretty good exchange. Not bad for all the money you poured into our country. At least we don't have to go to war. I think Chinese girls want to start drinking Diet Cola now. I don't know. They heard that's how American girls do it when they don't want to eat. They just drink like Diet Cola. Oh no. But anyways, hey China. America wants to see who's better at building. Yeah. We can do it better. We don't have to go to war. We just have to prove we're better at it. We don't need slavery. You know what I mean? We don't need slavery. Don't worry. You know what a China Mary is? Maybe we'll talk about that later. And sex trafficking of Asian women in America. Sorry, I know, national problems, social issues. We all have them all over the world. Hey, it's just, but it is what it is. Gosh darn it. So let's talk about a poet. You want to know? He's an interesting one. He's a bad, bad boy. I mean, a really bad boy. Everyone thought he was a bad, bad boy. All right. Y'all want to get Fat, Juicy, and Wet first? All right, let's get Fat, Juicy, and Wet by Sexy Red and Bruno Mars. How does that sound? I think Bruno Mars, isn't he from Philippines? I don't know. I could be wrong. A lot of Filipino actors and actresses. Seen a lot of pretty Asian girls, but not very many in America. Sorry. Some of them are, but not like they have them in Asia. If you know what I mean. Anyways. They must not be the smart ones. I don't know. They must just like looking for a husband and being a housewife. Who knows? Here we go. I'm going to be listening to Bruno Mars and Sexy Reds, Fat, Juicy, and Wet. All right. L'enfant terrible. All you know what a enfant terrible is? No, enfance terrible. Now, I heard this when I was in middle school about Alexander McQueen. Enfance terrible, the plural of enfant terrible, translates literally from French as terrible children. It describes unconventional, outspoken, or rebellious people whose shocking behavior, creative work. I'm sorry, I got a bug in here. How embarrassing. I can't keep them out. Creative work or unorthodox ideas embarrass or disrupt traditional and polite society. Core meanings. Now, this is a French term, all right? The rebel or outsider. A person whose bold or indiscreet remarks shock others. The avant garde. Innovator. A brilliant, successful newcomer in fields like art, fashion, or politics who rejects old rules and upsets traditional thinking. The literal child, an unpredictable child who says embarrassing things in public. All right. So, wow, very American, right? Very American. I mean, are you listening to this? Anyways, L'Enfant Terrible, Sexy Red, Bruno Mars. Who do we have here? Well, they called him L'Enfant Terrible. And that's Arthur Rimbaud. And he's a poet from France back in, I think, mid 1800s, right? I think so. I can't remember dates all the time. But yeah, that's Arthur Rimbaud. Let's go in here. He was a kid. He was a genius, they said. A bad one. A bad little bitch. He's a rebel. You know? He's a demon. He's a rebel. A bad little bitch, right? He's a demon. He's a devil. Like, Doja Cat says, painting the town red. Anyways, we'll give a quick synopsis of who he is right now. Because he's an important figure in history, especially literary. So, Jean-Nicole Arthur Rimbaud, such and such, 1854, yeah, mid-18th. 10 November 1891, was a French poet known for his transgressive. Now, I want you to understand what transgressive is, all right? It's a disruptive kind of, there was a disruptive art movement called the transgressive movement in the 90s, which really defined it, but ultimately transgressive means just counter, rebellious, outsider type of styles, edgy, I guess, if you want to say, and surreal themes for his influence on modern literature and arts, prefiguring surrealism. Anyways, he's a year of the tiger, so anyways, I think he is. Born in Charleville, he started writing at a very young age and excelled as a student, but abandoned his former education in his teenage years to run away to Paris amidst the Franco-Prussian War. During his late adolescence, and sorry, I gotta write something down. Okay. Anyways, sure, no problem. During his late adolescence, early adulthood, he produced the bulk of his literary output. So the dude was a kid when he created his best shit. Like most people, in youth, they are they say what is it? Talent or youth is wasted on youth. I forget how the phrase goes, but gosh darn these books. Okay. Uh so yeah, most of his work came when he was at the age of when he was in his teens. Rimbaud completely stopped writing literature at the age of 20 after assembling his last major works, Illumination. So this guy, by the time he was 20, should have already had a Wikipedia page for being one of the greatest writers in the world, right? Anyways, I gotta. Wait. Uh, what was he? Oh, yeah, I know. I remember what he was. Um, yeah, okay. All right. So, yeah, all right. Rimbaud was a libertine. So I'm assuming that's like he was a liberal, right? Libertine is a person questioning and challenging most moral principles such as responsibility or sexual restraint and will often declare these traits as unnecessary, undesirable, or evil. A libertine is especially someone who ignores or even spurns accepting moral and forms of behavior. All right, so he's kind of radical in that regards, I guess, right? Uh, Definitely not a good boy, they thought. I don't know. But, anyways, and a restless soul. Having engaged in a hectic, sometimes violent romantic relationship with poet Paul Verlaine. And you know that's not a girl's name. Anyway, which lasted nearly 2 years after his retirement as a writer. He traveled extensively on three continents as a merchant and explorer until his death from cancer after his 37th birthday. As a poet, Rimbaud is well known for his contributions to symbolism. All right, now we're coming back to that. And among other works for A Season in Hell and a precursor to modernist literature. So this guy gave us what we're allowed to read now. All right. Because he was. Let's see if I can see how they coined him. L'enfant terrible. So you have this like really bad little French boy that by the time he's 20 years old is a world-renowned poet. Anyways, almost in theory, I guess, but I mean he was important. He was important. Let's just put it that way. Uh, Enough to have his own Wikipedia page. I don't know, but you gotta look through it. And they called him L'Enfant Terrible. Let's look it up though, just for uh, verification. Uh, Arthur Rimbaud. Our English. I'm sorry, I'm not gonna. I'm sorry. I'm not gonna read it in French. I'm sorry. Arthur Rimbaud is the ultimate. Let's look at that. Is the ultimate. Enfant terrible. Terrible child. Or wild rebel of 19th century French poetry, famous for writing brilliant, rule breaking verses as a teenager before quitting poetry entirely by age 21 to travel the world. All right, so we know he was almost pretty much the first dude that ever such and such, yeah. Who was his lover? This ugly fucker. Yeah, Paul Verlaine. Yeah, that was their love. Anyways, don't want to get in, don't want to get in an argument with those two. Might get your hand shot off. Paul Marie Verlaine. So, French poet, writer, critic of Similes, Parnassus, and decadent movement. He is considered one of the paramount exponents of fin de siecle in French and international poetry. You can read about him. He's an important figure also. Why are they important figures? Because of, voila, wait, yeah, symbolist movement. They created something called symbolist movement. I'll show you what one of my favorite symbolist paintings are. I forget what it's called. Sometimes I just remember. I can't remember something like that. Oh, I got bubble guts. Okay, yeah, this is it. So I just want to show you. This is like my favorite one. Yeah. Imagine that. Let's see. Death of a Grave Digger. Carlos Schwabe. Let's put Wikipedia. Might have a better picture of it. It's on Wikipedia. This one looks kind of anyway. So, yeah. This is, sorry if it's copyright, but I'm gonna take the risk anyways. Yeah, quite an interesting one, right? When you dig your own grave, right? And you thought you were ahead of the game the whole time, right? Don't we all? Right when we're ready to dig it. I don't know if I've already dug mine. I don't know. But I hope it looks like this is how I want my grave to look like. We might have to go to his Facebook page anyway. Ah, yes, Luther's Light. This is what I want my grave to look like. James Durrell Cemetery Lighting Project is Luther's Light, a permanent installation located in the burial chapter of Dorschenstadt Friedhart Cemetery in Berlin, Germany. Ain't that so beautiful? You know? God, it's so beautiful. Anyways, also like, look at that It's just stunning. Oh, can you imagine going to someone's grave like that? Oh, so pretty. Makes you feel like you're in heaven. So, anyways. Maybe he has another one I want to look at on his Facebook page. Sorry, I'm just getting James Terrell. Here we go, James Terrell. He does such a good job at art. What's this? That's not James Terrell. I don't know. Maybe it is. I don't know. Look at the lighting in the mirror. Anyways. Oh. Could you imagine walking in something like that? This is the one I want. This is what I want my grave to look like, all right? Mark it off. James Terrell is returning to Dorthsteyer Cemetery in Berlin with the original lighting installation with James Kerby's new grave. Totally on point, right? Everybody's like, yeah. Have you seen James Kerby's grave? It's totally fly. Yeah. It's done by James Terrell. It's the coolest shit I've ever seen in my life. So, anyways, I might be getting too old. We'll see. Anyway. But yeah, James Terrell. Who knows? I'd probably end up like that, right? In just one big old hole in the dirt. But anyways, let's go on to that symbolism. Can you read it? Tell me you can read it. Symbolism. Tell me how you read it. All right. You know who that is, right? Yeah. Let me stretch out my leg a bit. What do you think she has in her hand? What is that grave digger doing? Oh, go figure, a grave digger, huh? Grave digger digging his own grave, huh? Kind of symbolic, yeah, right? Everything's ephemeral, right? Transcendent. Anyways. Yeah, everything. Is it right? Everything's transient. Come on. Come on, phone. Sorry, I'm gonna have to take a break. I don't feel safe without having shit running 24/7 anymore. Sometimes I guess I just always have to live in fear. When my knee popped, that felt better. So, anyways, yeah, take what you will from that picture. Anyways, that symbolism. Go figure. I mean, we all know that story. Anyways. So, Arthur Rimbaud, Paul Verlaine, Arthur Rimbaud, Paul Verlaine. They were symbolist writers, so they started it. They're the starters of it. famous for his intense visions, rejection of realism, radical approach to poetry before quitting writing entirely at a young age. Um, let's go. I don't know if we should. I always feel like it's a better idea before we go into this. Should you want to know more about Paul Verlaine and Arthur Rimbaud, Leonardo DiCaprio, and David Thewlis's movie Total Eclipse kind of gives a better idea of the storyline in that. But anyways, Arthur Rimbaud was a key pioneer, and his core concepts and contributions, derangement of the senses, Rimbaud brought higher truth through a systematic derangement of all senses, treating the mind and body as an instrument for visionary exploration. Synesthesia. That's an interesting one, right? What the hell is synesthesia? Well, I think it has something to do with seeing and kind of hallucinating. Let's see how you spell it. Synesthesia. Synesthesia is a harmless brain trait where one sense or thought triggers another at the same time, such as seeing specific color when hearing a musical note or tasting a word. People who have it are called synesthetics, I think, yeah. So comes from the Greek word meaning together and sensation and his thesis. So, yeah. I guess if someone said, remember what steak tastes like? So, yeah, I taste steak. All right. And correspondence in poems like Voyelles. He matched letters to colors and sensations built on Charles Baudelaire's idea of correspondence. Now, I've read Charles Baudelaire's, is it Fleurs du Mal? I don't know. Talking about like opium addicts or something like that and drug addicts. He's like really, I think, I don't remember. I know he was not fond of them. Rebellion and Departure. He wrote all his groundbreaking works, including Illumination and such. But I could be wrong. Maybe Bolier's, I don't know. When I read it, it just gave me the sense that he just didn't like alcohol, didn't like any vices. So yeah, Arthur Rimbaud, systematic derangement of the senses, dérèglement de tous les sens, is a radical artistic philosophy aiming to make a poet a seer by breaking normal perceptions through a long reasoned disorganization of sight, sound, touch, and taste. All right, so we're getting all this like crazy thing with senses going on, all right? In symbolism. How do I make you see a mountain? Well, yeah, we all know what a mountain is, right? So I can see it. Yeah, anyways. Outlined in letters to his teacher and friends and famous seer letters by Paul Decker. So we can go on and on and on and on and on forever about studying Arthur Rimbaud. But then, he's famous for books like this, The Drunken Boat. I'm just going to give it to you real quick so that you understand, like, what he might be talking about in terms of things like synesthesia, crazy thoughts, being wild, and yeah. As I go down impasse rivers, I no longer felt myself guided by haulers. Yelped redskins had taken them as targets and had nailed them naked to colored stakes. I was indifferent to all crews, the bearers of Flemish wheat or English cottons. When with my haulers this uproar stopped, the rivers let me go where I wanted. Into the furious lashings of the tides, more heedless than children's brains the other winter, I ran in loosened peninsulas and have not undergone a more triumphant hubbub. The storm blessed my sea vigils. Lighter than a cork, I danced on the waves. There are that are called eternal rollers of victims. 10 nights without missing the stupid eye of the lighthouse, sweeter than the flesh of hard apples, and is to children. The green water penetrated my hull of fur and washed me of spots of blue wine and vomit, scattering rudder and grappling hook. And from then on, I bathed in the poem of the sea infused with stars and lascescence, devouring the Azar verses were like a pale-elated piece of flotsam, a pensive drowning figure sometimes sinks where suddenly dying the blueness, delirium, and slow rhythms under a streak of daylight, stronger than alcohol, vaster than our lyres, the bitter redness of love ferments. I know the skies bursting with lightning and water spouts and the surf and the currents. I know the evenings, a dawn as exalted as a flock of doves, and at times I have seen what man thought he saw. I have seen the low sun spotted with mystic horrors, lighting up with long violet clots, resembling actors of very ancient dramas, the waves rolling far off their quivering of shutters. I have dreamed of green nights with dazzling snow, a kiss slowly rising to the eyes of the sea, the circulation of unknown saps, and the yellow and blue awakening of singing phosphorus. I followed during pregnant months the swell like hysterical cows in its assault on the reefs, without dreaming that the luminous feet of the Marys could constrain the snout of the wheezing oceans. I struck against you, unbelievable Floridas mingling with flowers, panthers' eyes, and human skin. Rainbow stretched like a bridal reins under the horizon of the seas to greenish herds. I have seen enormous swamps ferment, fish traps where a whole leviathan rots in the rushes, avalanches of water in the midst of the calm, and the distant cataracting towards the abyss. Glaciers, sun of silver, nefarious waves, skies of ember, hideous strands at the end of brown gulfs, where giant serpents devoured by bedbugs fall down from gnarled trees with black scent. I should have liked to show children those sunfish of the blue wave, the fish of the gold, the singing fish, foam of flowers rocked my drifting, and if and ineffable winds winged me at times. At times a martyr weary of poles and zones, the sea whose sob created my gentle roll, brought up to me her dark flowers with yellow suckers, and I remained like a woman on her knees, resembling an island tossing out on my sides the quarrels and droppings of noisy birds with yellow eyes. And I sailed on when they, through my fragile ropes, drowned men sank backwards to sleep. Now I, a boat lost in the foliage of caves, thrown by the storm into the birdless air, I, whose water drunk carcasses would not have been rescued by the monitors in the Hanseatic sailboats, free, smoking, topped with violet fog, I, who pierced the reddened sky like a wall, bearing delicious jam from good poets, lichen of sunlight, mucus of Azer, who ran spotted with small electric moons, a wild plague escorted by black seahorses. When July's beat down with blows of cudgels, the ultramarine skies with burning funnels, I who terrible, hearing at 50 leagues off the moaning of behemoths in heat and the thick maelstroms, eternal spinners of blue immobility. I miss Europe with its ancient parapets. I have seen sidereal archipelagos and islands whose delirious skies are open to the sea wanderer. Is it in those bottomless nights that you sleep and exile yourself? Million golden birds. Oh, future vigor. But in truth, I've wept too much. Dawns are heartbreaking. Every moon is atrocious. Every sun bitter. Acrid love has swollen me with intoxicating torpor. Oh, let my keel burst. Oh, let me go into the sea. If I want a water of Europe, it is black. Cold puddle, where in the sweet smelling twilight a squatting child full of sadness releases a boat as fragile as a May butterfly. No longer can I, bathed in your languor waves, follow in the wake of the cotton boats, nor cross through the pride of flags and flames, nor swim under the terrible eyes of prison ships. All right. Well, you get a sense in your head what's going on. Like we're out in the ocean, bloody. Wow, wow. I feel like I've been traveling the ocean on a pirate ship almost, right? Let's find out what the drunken boat is about. So I've been on this like wild drunken boat experience by reading it. Like I feel like I'm being flung all over the world in a pirate ship. All right. The drunken boat uses the central metaphor of an unmanned drifting vessel to represent adolescent rebellion, total artistic freedom, and the ultimate isolation of the human soul. Written when Rimbaud was only 16, the poem maps a chaotic voyage where intoxication symbolizes liberation from societal and literary rules, which eventually shifts into exhaustion and despair. Uh, Whoa, I thought we were just on a boat bouncing around in the ocean, right? Pirate ship. That's what I thought. Uh, the boat, absolute liberation. The boat loses its captains when haulers are killed by Native Americans, letting it drift freely like a drunk band, signifying a break from all rules, authority, and conventional poetry. So poems weren't like that back then. All right. Uh, Spiritual exhaustion. The initial joy of drifting through the poem of the sea turns into a battered, bruised reality reflecting the heavy price of complete alienation. Totally. I felt like I was being bumped and battered all over the ocean in a pirate ship or something. The artist's plight. The boat represents Rimbaud himself, placeless, restless, and overwhelmed by visions that society cannot understand. So, yeah. Anyways, I guess that's the reason why they called him Enfant Taïbre. Yeah, I wasn't thinking I was breaking rules in that. No, felt like I was being bounced around all over the ocean in a pirate ship. I had no clue I was breaking big rules in that poem. I thought it was just, yeah, synesthesia. All right, I gotta work on my next thing. My next class, sorry.